Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Atira binti Muhammad Budi. My metric number is 260705. Today, me and my friends want to explain to you guys what is Visitor Impact Management, VIM. First, we have to know about the learning outcome first. First, we have to organize and the need of utility of visitor use planning and management. Second, understand the importance of monitoring visitors' impact. Third, understand and identify effective indicators and standard of visitors' impact. Next, apply the decision process to identify local or region issues. Next, be able to develop adaptive management responses for specific scenarios of change. Last but not least, understand for importance of engaging the community. So by the end of the chapter, you all have to know all these things. So if you don't understand, you can ask question after this video. Next, we continue to slides next. What is VIM? VIM is Visitor Impact Management methodology designed to control the expected impact due to visitors in the given environment, which integrates the clean production concept to tourism industry through sustainable the goals. Okay, next we look into the managing visitors impact based on standard of quality. There's a three main point, which is number 1, carrying capacity, number 2, limits of acceptable change, LAC, and third one is method of controlling excessive visitors impact. Next, number 1, first I will explain to you the carrying capacity. The meaning is that the maximum amount of tourist activity that can be sustained without damaging the environment or decreasing visitors' enjoyment. Next, three management approaches. First, top-down approaches, that mean people other than the resources users make decisions about managing resources and enforcing rules. For example, there's only top management that make decisions for others. Second is bottom-up approach. People who are directly affected by resources use make the major decision regarding the resource use. For example, a community-based system in which people vote to decide on rules and regulation of fisheries. Next is combination approach. A mixed approach, which is the top people consult frequently with the bottom people and frequently use their input and opinion in shaping decision. Okay, example, divers at coral reef. Per year, they only limit 4,000 until 6,000 divers per year. This is because they want to save the coral from being damaged. However, the divers have been trained for the divers are giving knowledge how to use the coral carefully and do not damage the coral. Next, number 2, limit of acceptable change, which is LAC. What is LAC? LAC is the consideration of carrying capacity and considers other potential underlying causes of impact. There's 9 steps which you can see in the slides, which I am not going to explain more or detail because group 2 have explained this to you. Next, number 3 is method of controlling excessive visitors impact. Number 1 is increase the supply. Number 2, reduce public use. Number 3, modify the character of visitors use. Number 4, alter visitor attitudes and expectation. And last but not least, modify the site of resource. Number 1, for example, increase the supply. That's mean increase the supply of recreational opportunities, areas and facilities to accommodate increased demand. Number 2, reduce public use at specific site in individual management zones or throughout the park. Number 3, modify the character of visitor. Example, like by controlling where the use occur, when the use occur, and what type of use and how the visitor behave. Number 4, alter visitor's attitude and expectation, which means you have to know what is the visitors' attitude and expectation. Means they come to your place and they expect what from you. Last but not least, modify the site of resources. That means by increasing the durability of the problem site or by maintaining the reliability the site. Okay, next I will explain to you the community-based management. What is community-based management? In contrast of centralized planning and authority, community-based resources management is a bottom-up approach that involves local resources use and community members in active management and responsibility for coastal resources. Next, involving the public in the planning process help a planning team to learn about public concern, issues, expectations, and values. Second, educate people about the planning processes. Next, learn about the value placed by other people. Number 4, collect data and validate. Number 5, define the range of alternatives. Number 6, build support among local stakeholders. Developing a public involvement strategy is one of the planning team's first step. The strategy should outline opportunities for public involvement throughout the planning effort and should be carefully and systematically designed as part of the decision-making process. The public and the planning team should exchange information and ideas throughout the process, not just after decisions have been made. When this does not occur, public comment is likely to be received either too early or too late to be usable, or it may fail to focus on the critical issues. It is very important to let the community involved in your planning. Next, three management approaches. First, top-down approaches. That means people other than the resources users make decisions about managing resources and enforcing rules. For example, there's only top management that make decisions for others. Second is bottom-up approach. People who are directly affected by resources use make the major decision regarding the resource use. For example, a community-based system in which fisher people vote to decide on rules and regulation of fisheries. Next is combination approach. A mixed approach which is the top people consults frequently with the bottom people and frequently use their input and opinion in shaping decision. Next, I'm going to explain to you how the following three types of coastal management apply. Number 1, integrate coastal management is a top approach that is characterized by centralized planning and authority. Number 2, to ensure that decisions are constantly with the national legal. ICM has many purposes and addresses that connect between development, human activity, and others. Next, number 2, community-based coastal resource management. It is a bottom-up approach that involves local resources, users, and community members in active management. Next, assumes that local users are given responsibility of their resources, manage their resources in sustainable way. For example, I gave it downstairs. Community-based management is consistent with the tenets of co-management described below, since government is always involved in the management process. That means, for example, in a school, there's principals and all the clerk. So the clerks is community-based coastal resources management. They can also sometimes make decisions for the school. Next is collaborative or co-management of coastal resources. It incorporates both top-down and bottom-up approach based on the participants of all individuals and groups that have a stake in the management framework. This is example of school again, when the principals, clerks and students are given responsible to make decision together. Okay, next number 2 is level of community involvement. Community participants in management planning and implementation is a quantum. Community members may be completely aware of what is happening in MPA and not involved at all in any decision making. Passive to informed, active and to decision makers. It's actually there's arrows to the right. Number 3 is participatory techniques. What are some of the techniques or tools that can bring the community together? Let's see. First is natural group of informal interviews. The example for number 1 is casual conservation with group of people in their natural surroundings. This technique provides a broad overview of key issues. Number 2, focus group interviews. That means semi-structured decision with groups of people with common interests of characteristic. Example for cross-section of age, different villages. These techniques are useful for identifying and describing group perception, attitudes and needs. Next, semi-structured interviews. Interviews using a checklist of topic instead of a detailed questionnaire. The interviewers is encouraged to speak generally on each topic without interruption by the interviewer, who may prompt on items that have been overlooked. This technique enables unforeseen topic to surface. Next is brainstorming session. A facilitate discussion that is used to identify problems and issues in the community. The purpose of brainstorming session is encourage members of the community to think creatively about a particular topic and generate new ideas and opinions. The facilitator write down all the ideas as they arise, does not encourage lengthy discussion of each one. Next is observational walks and boat trip, undertaken by a group of local people and useful for identifying social, environmental and livelihood issues and evidence of degradation. This technique often helps local community members to get a new perspective on resources. Next is participatory mapping. It means large sketches of the local area created with local materials. These maps are discussed in a group of use to gather data on both natural resources and social issues and to encourage stakeholder involvement. Data can be incorporated into more formal maps through GPS recordings. Next is Venn diagrams. Venn diagrams, the use of overlapping shapes to illustrate and summarize relationship, conflict and issues among stakeholders. Stakeholders groups can draw a use pre-cut shapes. The final overlap is captured by the interviewer. This technique can be used during a focus group. Last but not least is gender analysis. A study of gender relation and how they might be affected by an intervention either during the establishment of a MPA or a new female is introduced into the groups. That's all from my groups. I hope you guys understand what is me and my friends explain to you. If you have any question, please ask in the comment. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name Sanwani Yusof, my metric number 252082. Okay, I will continue from my friends. My topic is the methodology for monitoring impact. Okay, what is the meaning of methodology for monitoring impact? This is the methodology requires action and ongoing monitoring of the visitor number, indicators, visitor behavior, and so on. Without the monitoring, the manager cannot know whether a problem is developing, nor whether the desired standards are being met. The effective monitoring of the resource and social indicators, they provide the feedback and documentation needs to implement meaningful management action. In the methodology for monitoring impact, they have four methodology. First is methodology for LAC. Second is the methodology for measure of success. Third is public participation. Next is obtaining information. Okay, I will display one by one. First methodology is for limit of acceptable change, or LAC. This methodology for LAC has involved specifically to allow tourism to address the shortcoming of the carrying capacity concept, although it has also been applied for more general management situations. LEC methodology that accepts the change is inevitable, but set limit on the what degree of change is acceptable. To implement an LEC methodology, the manager should to consult with the stakeholder to determine a common vision of what a site acceptable condition should be. First is set indicators and standards related to the amount of the change stakeholder deemed to be unacceptable in those sites. And second is the monitoring and continually assess the effect tourism is having upon the previously determined standards. The LEC approach that forces the manager to come to grips with the details management in a way that goes far beyond any simple number of overall carrying capacity. In addition, by setting limit of acceptable change that involve as many stakeholders as possible, the manager acquires much more credibility when they require management change that affect other people, such as affect to operator, guides, and also affect to community people. Okay, next is the methodology for measure of success. This methodology applies the concept of adaptive management and sees monitoring as an essential element of the project planning and management. Monitoring is integrated into a project cycle and is developed as a part of the conceptual model and also management plan. Once project goal, objective, and activities are selected, a clear and precise monitoring plan is drawn up. And there is the step involved in this process. First is determine the audience for monitoring information. Two is determining the information needs based on the project objective. Three is designing a monitoring strategy for each information need. Four is developing one or more indicators for each information needs. Next is apply and modifying the indicators and indicator as need. Six is determining method of the measuring indicators by using four selection criteria. First is accuracy or reliability. Second is cost effectiveness. Third is feasibility. And last is appropriateness. Seven is developing an operational plan for applying the method. Is listing the tasks, people responsible for carrying out those tasks, and monitoring the site and a timeline for carrying out plan. Is public participation. A key aspect of the LAC process is that it involves stakeholders. Standards and indicators and course of action are determined in the participatory meeting with the stakeholder. Whatever management system is chosen, stakeholders should be involved to the fullest extent possible. This process should be guided by steering committee composed of the protecting area or ecotourism site manager, tourism industry representative, and community leader. That would include the following steps. First is community meeting to discuss concern and potential impact of the ecotourism. This is, for example, the manager and the stakeholder make a discussion of the concern and the impact of the ecotourism in that area. Second is a steering committee meeting to determine indicators and standards and to assign monitoring responsibility. Third is community meeting to present monitoring program and to discuss limit or range of acceptable change. Fourth is training of monitoring and analysis team. Five is implementation of monitoring. Six is analysis of results, evaluation of the management need, and small-scale management adjustment made. Seven is community meeting to discuss monitoring results and management recommendation. Last is continued implementation of monitoring and management. This is the example of indicators and standards. This is in the Komodo National Park, Indonesia. The management at the Komodo National Park developed a comprehensive list of indicators and standards for a wide variety of possible visitor activity in this park. Include wildlife viewing and interaction with the local community members. Collecting the information, baseline, and monitoring. The monitoring requires that certain kind of the information be collected on a systematic, routine basis. Baseline information is crucial to compare with subsequent data and to access the direction management is taking. In collection the information, they also have four consideration for monitoring. First is cost. Cost is the collection should involve procedures that are relatively simple to implement and do not require large investment of time or cost to the site's administration. Second is personnel. Most of the data should be collected by the site staff and by the third parties, such as university biologists, naturalist guides, concessionaires, and community members should also be considered. Okay. Next is collecting information from record keeping. Record keeping is some type of data that need to be collected on the daily, include visitor number and other visitor characteristics such as their age, their nationality, and so on. And in the record keeping, they also include the free collection amount and visitor observation and also complaint. Four is the collection the information from the visitor surveys and questionnaires. This is a standard surveys addressing the management objective and indicators to concern should be prepared and present to a random sample of a visitor on a regular basis. This is the method is usually done by using survey and questionnaires, which can be carried out by site staff or third parties. Okay, next is adaptive management. Adaptive management is our learning by doing approach to management. It acknowledges the uncertainties, incomplete knowledge, and changing situations that are inherent in protected area management. This learning by doing also allows their manager to learn how how the best to monitor the result of the management action, and also evaluate whether established goals are being attained. An adaptive management approach can help the protected area manager incorporate the ongoing information from the monitoring program into an effective management program. Adaptive management places high emphasis on ongoing monitoring and expect that policies may need to be adjusted from time to time in order to continue moving the agreed open goal. Adaptive management can be used in conjunction with our community involvement principle to create ongoing process of community-based management. Implementation adaptive management in relation to sustainable tourism and biodiversity requires the active cooperation of all stakeholders, and especially those in the private sector with a biodiversity manager.